All right, I gotta make this video now because I'm like losing it. I'm gonna start streaming soon, but okay. Doing some preliminary research on my topic, which is, been thinking about this for my whole life, basically. But in the past, it seemed outrageous given the margins and everything and how much money there was out there. But basically, I've always thought, ever since I was like 10, I learned about these big companies that exist, that they should be taxed more, basically. And in doing so, it wouldn't actually end up hurting their businesses in the long run. Short term, sure, there's initial loss of capital that would cause a little bit of panic maybe in investors. But in the long run, it would absolutely benefit them because it would increase their customer base overall. Here's what I mean. The top 100 companies in the United States alone, okay? I'm just gonna focus on the United States. I mean, this could apply to the whole globe, but let's just start with the United States. United States is an abundance of skilled workers, there's an abundance of capital, and abundance of skilled labor. Skilled worker, yeah, same thing. There's a bunch of opportunity to make this a reality, basically. Okay, there's resources, land, all these things are available, and technology nowadays. And when I was 10, about 20 years ago, there wasn't like the scale of technology to what it is today. Like, we're almost at the point with agriculture where most of the food is planted and harvested and shipped around and processed by few people. Like, most of it's machinery. And once technology scales up in the next maybe 50 years, I mean, it could be faster if we prioritize it, but I would say at least it's 50, 60 years away from full scale where there's no human touching agriculture. It's just robots planting seeds, tending the fields, making sure the farm life are handled properly, and making sure the soil has the right nutrients to keep regenerative farming. And then everything is literally just shipped to people's houses directly. There's not even any grocery stores because literally you just have it shipped directly to you. Drones at this point are fully automated. They're just flying from the farm. They grab the food directly, like literally a fresh head of lettuce, grab it, pick it up, fly it to someone's house that needs lettuce. Like, it's within my lifetime, I could see it as a possibility, which is crazy to think about. The technology is all there. It's all about scaling it up. How long will that take? Anyway, side note. The top 100 companies in the United States alone have, how much cash on hand do you think? Just cash on hand. Just holding in the bank. As of July 24th, when I looked this up, that number, it was July 23rd. 23rd, 24th. So Thursday or Friday, I can't remember. They have $1.8 trillion cash on hand. Okay. Now, I haven't gone further yet. I'm going to in these streams I'm going to do. But I guarantee you their current liabilities are not 1.8 trillion. Which is to say, all their debts that they have that are payable within the year, in other words, that they would need, this cash to be available, guarantee you it's not 1.8 trillion. Guaranteed. There's no way. Well, there's a way, maybe. Total liabilities probably are over that, I would agree, but current liabilities, I highly doubt it. What does that mean? That means that they have excess cash. I'll find out how much over the streams. On top of that, what do you think is the net income of the top 100 companies? Oh, by the way, that 1.8 trillion number, I forgot about this. That 1.8 trillion number excludes the financial sector. I excluded them because, you could say they need a certain amount of cash on hand to meet obligations, so we shouldn't really include them. If you include the financial sector, it's like 2.5 trillion. Well, let's just exclude them because there'd be a lot more deeper research to do that. That would take, honestly, months to figure out how much cash they have that can actually be given away without serious repercussions of the entire economy. So let's just exclude the financial sector for that part. I'm fine with that. Fair enough. It's complicated. Let's not cause another 2008, right? Even though it's already going to happen. But on top of the 1.8 trillion in cash they have currently, again, cash. This isn't, whenever people talk about, Elon Musk doesn't have any money. They don't have money. They just have stock holdings. We're not talking about stock holdings. We're talking about cash. There's also current assets that they have that on top of the cash that can be transferred into cash. But let's keep it simple. The thing about what I'm going to talk about is that, and why I want to talk about it now, is that the problem and the solution has gotten so absurd. It's so simple now. Before it was complex. It was like, the companies to fix these issues in America, like housing and food, there really was not enough cash and things to divert for those, goals. I mean, in any moral society, they would have anyway. But I can understand the argument against it. I get it, I got it. Sure. Do I agree with it? No, but I get it. I can understand it. Where they're coming from. There's a risk of the company failing. That's a real risk. Companies fail. When do companies fail? Is when they can no longer meet their obligations. So, 1.8 trillion in cash. The net income, this is going to include the financial sector, just for reference. The net income of the top 100 companies for 1 year. Net income is basically the end number you get after getting rid of every expense. All taxes are paid out, all payroll is done, research and development is accounted for, capital expenditures, you got your depreciation, everything's in there. Okay, so it's net income. Boom. That's how healthy a company is. If they have a huge net income, it's a healthy company. This is what got me crazy 10 years ago. I started seeing these companies, the top 10 back then, if I remember correctly, over the course of like a couple of years, they would have like 600 billion in net income, which is like, holy crap, wow. Over the course of like a couple of years, it was 10 companies. It was already getting out of hand 10 years ago. Like these issues, right? Top 100 net income in 1 year, 1.8 trillion as well. Or 1.6. It's 1.6, 1.8. I think it's like, it pretty much matches the cash on hand. It's kind of crazy. So, every year, and this has been, it's been growing, but let's trim it down. Let's say over the last 5 years, like I said, I'll get the full numbers later, and I'm gonna take a long time streaming every day. That's my plan. At like 10 p.m. I'm gonna stream and go through the actual like full details. But I'm pretty sure it's safe to assume trim that down about 33%. That's the average for the last 5 years. So $1 trillion. $1 trillion every year, net income for 5 years. Now, again, there's that fear, that risk. Well, if we divert some of this money, are we being fiduciaries to our stockholders? They're always looking for the best return on investment. Which again, my response to that is, I think the best return on investment they could possibly do is fix the country. If you fix the country, you improve everyone's wages, you improve everyone's quality of life, you improve the ability for people to become proper consumers. You improve the people's ability to become contributing members of society, and they can have a tax burden, and then your tax burden might go down. Because now everyone can have proper salary to afford to be taxed at a reasonable rate, Everyone can contribute. The long run effect of fixing the country would produce enormous return on investment for these companies overall. And not just from a financial standpoint, but for the leadership, the billionaires. The problem's gotten so out of hand that we could fix these issues in America without even touching the individual's wealth. Okay? Because what we could do is, as a country, we could decide, okay, every now and then, we'll vote every year, or we'll give the issues like 5 years to resolve, or 4 years. Like we'll match up presidential runs. So every 4 years, when you vote for a president, there's polls done throughout the year, throughout every 4 years, to find out what's the most pressing issue America faces. Okay, that can be fixed through manufacturing, labor-intensive purposes. It'd be kind of hard to quantify. I'm thinking, in my opinion, the first issue should be housing, because it's a very fixable problem. There's, from America, 6 million people homeless in America, I believe. How much does it cost to build a home? Let's build a home like this. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, nice house. How much would it cost? Oh, it cost about 200 grand right now. 200 grand. So, I might lose my thing here. Let me find a calculator. 200 grand times 6 million. Let's see. Isn't it around 1.2 trillion? Right? Doing that right in my head? I think so. And that's to build a modern home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath for every single homeless person in America. That's unnecessary. In reality, probably the best approach would be you build homes like this for homeless people that have families, and ones that are relatively stable. They're just, under bad economic circumstances. Maybe they got ill for a moment, lost their job, and that's all it took for them to lose, paycheck to paycheck. So that's all it took for them to lose their house. Homeless people in that category that aren't drug addicts, aren't mentally ill, they're just down on their luck. So for them, you can build single-family houses. We'd have to quantify that number. And then the rest, people with drug addiction, people with mental health issues, just a good amount, a lot of veterans. For them, you build apartment complexes. You have mental health staff come in and help them out, help them get back on their feet. Some people will recover, and some people will be able to come back to society and buy their own home. Other people might be there indefinitely because they have schizophrenia that doesn't have no treatment. They can't really work. Keep them there. Because what's the option? The street? So the best, let's say 1.2 trillion to pay for it. Now we need a workforce, right? We would need a workforce. Well, it seems like you got 6 million people for manual labor that could work and help build the homes they're going to eventually have. When you build that many homes, you increase supply. What does that do? The prices. When supply goes up, price drops. Is that one of the number one crises in this country? Is housing prices? For people that have jobs as well. People wanting to own. So, kind of killing 5 birds with one stone. You're helping people out with their health care because they're getting treatment for the mental health issues. You're helping out the veterans that are homeless. You're decreasing housing prices, so you're helping out the average American be able to afford homes, which, yes, that will affect real estate investors, but you're investing. You're taking risk, okay? You have the capital to take risk. So your capital falls down a little bit, you still have capital. You're not destitute, okay? So this argument of like, well, what about them? Well, they took a risk, policy changes, they get hit, they're still gonna be okay. Probably the number one reason why they'll be okay is because if housing prices drop, there's a good chance local businesses will be able to drop their prices because they'll be more economically viable. But that's even further down. That takes more policy change, whatever. Can't really promise that. But in the end, those people are a minority of the American public. It's not the majority of Americans, okay? Which when you're dealing with federal governments, you have to look out in the interests of the majority of the whole public, of the society. You gotta remember, what's the purpose of society? Why did we decide to do this whole thing, get together and make a society? It allows us to specialize. It allows us to have fun. And it allows us to treat those that are less fortunate with complete compassion and care. Which is, it definitely is, it should be considered the number one measure of any proper society that has wealth and influence, is how well it treats people that are less fortunate. So that's one of the major benefits. People born without limbs can have access to care that allows them to function in society. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. I feel like we've lost that sight of what's the point? What's the point of it all? Is it just money? What is money for? What's the point of money? Why did we make money? It's not. We made it up. Why did we make it? For efficiency in trading, bartering. Okay? Why? So that way we could have more specialization, improve society, get to the point where we're at with technology and advancements. There's no reason that the economic system and ideas of the economic system should stay the same over centuries. Things change. Things change. The biggest change is scarcity. Scarcity is still a thing for some things, for extreme valuables or precious goods, but for the necessity to live in America, again, I'm focusing on America. We could, over the course of decades, we could make it where the entire world is retrofitted to be this way if we really wanted to. This idea that we couldn't do it, it's absurd. We definitely, as a human race, with the technology we have, the ability to create buildings, create energy infrastructure, create water systems, create agriculture, we could do it around the world if we all came together and decided, let's just fix these problems. The problem is, where's the motivation? Where's the motivation? And I think part of it is a lot of us are kind of in this brainwashed space that thinks suffering and these issues are just inevitable. Because, and understandably so, they were for the entirety of the human race. The idea that every single person could have their own 1,500 square foot, 500 foot garage, the fact that the idea that everyone could have that is absurd in the past. It's absurd. You'd be laughed away. But that was 100 years ago, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 2,000. Now, you have giant robots that are 3D printing houses. And then electricians wire them and do the fine touches. But it's not... It's 100% attainable now. With the proper guidance, push. And so here's my pledge. Here's a pleasure, not pledge, but request. I can't think of the proper word for it. my plea to the ruling class, the billionaires, and the former trillionaire. Wake up and realize that your wealth accumulation has gotten to a level where your businesses can take fractions of their money after they've succeeded in their business adventures, which they have, good for them. Good job, Google. Good job, NVIDIA. Congratulations. Now fix the country. You've succeeded in business, in capitalism. Phenomenal. So now let's everyone benefit. And not just with a stock portfolio. How about we start building homes for people? I thought about like making three. Basically, the concept is, in my opinion, this would work because of how egregious it is. You look at a company's health, the net income, cash on hand, their average cash outlays, what's their plans, because all this stuff's public. They have plans for the future. It's not like a mystery what they're going to do. They have budgets, projected budgets, how much they're going to spend. It's all knowledge for the public. So it's not like they're not, oh, well, we have no idea what we're going to spend next year, so we can't spend any money. It's like, you know exactly how much to spend next year. Okay? It's very clearly defined, so people can invest in the stock market. It's all defined. So they can all take a portion of that money, and depending on how successful you are, a bigger portion. If you're less successful, a lesser portion. If you don't meet the criteria, then maybe none. In my mind, I thought of it as like, you look at, maybe three metrics. You look at the total net income, you look at the net profit margin, which is, how much of their total revenue becomes net income. You look at their cash on hand compared to how much they're gonna outlay in the next year. And you take a portion. Let's say, just top of my head, you make a net income of $10 billion in the year on a 50% net profit margin, which is crazy. And some of these companies are doing, like NVIDIA is doing this, where they have a net profit margin of 70% on $60 billion in sales. It's ludicrous numbers. Like, it's insane. Let's say 10 billion net income, net profit margin of, let's go more realistic number, 20%. 20% net profit margin. You're sitting with about 5 billion cash on hand. You're expected to dish out 2.5 billion in cash next year. But all their future revenues are projected as well, so we can also use that to determine how much to take. But very simple right now, right? This is not the official policy. It's just very simple. I'm fucking cleaning dishes. I would say it would make sense that company, given the scale of the other companies, let's say 10%. 10% of that cash on hand, so it would be 500 million, would go. And here's the key. Here's where I think this plan could have viability and would make sense for even like these people in power. Is they don't give the money to the U.S. Treasury. Okay. I feel like one of the biggest complaints about government and taxes is that we don't really know what's going on with the money. A lot of 25% of it goes to the war machine, and I've like 15 to 20% of that is black budgeted. Who knows what they're doing? They're doing something, but we don't know. Which is, how can that be democratic? We're literally giving them taxes and they hide it. How can anything be classified in a real democracy? Anyway, the classification of information should not exist in a government run by people, like run by the public. The public should know everything. Nothing should be classified. It makes no sense. I don't care. National security. I don't care. It's where I voted. How am I supposed to know how to vote? How can I have informed consent of my vote if I have no idea what you're doing? I have no idea what's happening. Makes no sense. It's retarded. From a ethical standpoint. It makes no sense. I have no idea what's going on. I don't know. I think I do. I have some information, but not all of it. So then I'm making a dumb decision. Anyway, 500 million would go, the company would write checks, or a check, maybe they just send it to one thing, where let's say we choose, we're gonna end homelessness, okay? That's the issue that as a society we're gonna end, okay? So the government's job in this is the main job is to vet and approve vendors that will accomplish that goal, okay? And this is why I think the house thing is the easiest thing to do, because it's physical. You can literally, let's say the company gives $500 million to a construction company to build 10,000 homes over there, okay? You give them about a year to get the permitting, go with the local governments, get all the construction crews together, and then you give them about, I don't know how long it would take, maybe 4 years, 5 years, to actually build the houses. And all you'd have to do, very simple, to oversee what's happening, is just fly a drone every month, take a video of what the construction progress is. If it's taking too long, it's very fast to see. This is not, like, any misappropriation of the funds would be immediately caught. Like, oh, this company was given $500 million to build houses over there. It's been 3 years. Where's the houses? Where's the sites? What's going on? You know, it's not hard. With something like food insecurity and like ending food insecurity, it'd be a lot more difficult to audit and make sure that, okay, we give $500 million to the grocery store Publix to give out free food to people, right? It's harder to track. I mean, you could do it through like apps and stuff. Like you make the people download an app. The app tracks the IDs of the food, and you can track the money in the app, whatever. But it's more complicated. It's more technical. With the housing, it's just, you could literally just fly a drone over and see what's going on. And the baby's waking up, so I think I'll have to cut this video out in a second. So the government, let's say HUD, would have approved vendors, and the company would choose what vendor they want to use, and it gives the company more freedom to pick where their money's going to solve the direct issue. It's not subterfuge and nonsense. It's going directly to fix the problem. That's the difference between like just sending a tax bill to the U.S. Treasury. Who knows like what's going on? They'll know exactly what's going on. And here's the kicker as to how to get my plea for the ruling class. Because I know you guys are suffering from immense greed. It's fine. You know, it's a core part of our existence growing in this culture and growing up. Fair, fine. But you are suffering from it. So how about we use it to good use, yeah? You guys want legacies, right? Isn't the big thing you guys want? All you billionaires, you want to have a legacy, right? You want to be known for something noble, right? So when we do end homelessness, because you've contributed over the course of the next 5 years, you've contributed $2 trillion, and now we've built every single house. Now every single person has a home. If there's a drug addict on the street who's overdosing on fentanyl, instead of calling the cops on him, you can just medicate him and then bring him back to his room in his house, in his apartment that he owns. 1 second, Jupiter. 1 second. Instead of causing another criminal. Heal the people. Once that's done, we will erect a giant statue in your honor in Washington, D.C. Be a 500-foot statue with all of your names engraved into it, every single owner of the companies that contributed. And there'll be a holiday once a year where we talk about the day we ended homelessness. And I got you, baby. We, in our schools, in our public school system, we take that day or the day before, let's say, that week, and we teach about, the glory and how these businessmen had figured out how to thrive to the point where they could fix homelessness. And so you're immortalized forever as noble citizens. And that will outweigh almost all the evil deeds you've ever done, because as individuals, whatever it is, because you have fixed a problem that will affect the country as a whole forever, basically. Creating generational wealth for the entire country. So think about it.